Welcome back to another CaCo Talks, where we are finally in 2023. We are super excited to share what we have in store for you guys with season 2 coming this year. So tonight's episode, we are going to do a quick little update about our New Year's, what we did, how we celebrated. And then we're going to get into like a behind the scenes of what is to come in season 2, which will be dropping in March of CaCo Talk. So join us in this episode as we share that with you guys. All right, welcome back, everyone. Super excited to be back in 2023. Courtney, how are we feeling so far?
Good. I'm excited to just have another year of life, obviously. And I've already had some like fun things happen in the early part of this year so far. So
Nice.
yeah, just looking
We
forward
love it.
to, continuing chugging along. That's where I feel like I'm in my life. It's like one foot in front of the other,
Honestly, no, seriously.
But
I
otherwise,
do feel like.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I do feel like it's a little bit more like, or a little bit more, I guess, like established, if you will. So we get to experience life differently, but like more full, I guess, because it's like, we don't really have, we have like, responsibilities, but it's not to the extent of like something taken away from what the things that you want to do pretty much immediately if you wanted. So.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my biggest obstacle, which I guess is everybody's biggest obstacle, so I'm not going to outkiss me, it's just like, I would like to have more money,
Facts.
and like...
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, it's like small little things, but otherwise, I mean, I'm happy with like the peace that I've been able to like cultivate for myself in the last year.
Yeah.
I would say that was the biggest benefit I ended up having out of 2022 is like 2022 started out very rocky, but it came to a very peaceful conclusion, and that's carried over so far into the new year. And I feel like, especially having, moved so far away from home, it's like I'm just getting into the groove of like just taking care of myself, and then I'm like, okay, well, how do I expand on that, and how do I go after the things I want and everything? So it's been a process, and I'm thankful for that. So, because I think sometimes I would get into the habit of being like, well, I need to make something happen right now, but it's also really good to process into things, and that's where life has taken me. So I'm happy to continue.
And I think also
processing.
the key, like, another key to that is enjoying the process. Like that can be fun too.
And you have to make yourself enjoy the process, I think, because a lot of times you can't just focus on the goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Not sit back and say, you know what, how can I appreciate today? What do I appreciate about today?
Yeah, for sure.
So
for sure,
that's something I really focus on. But keep the goal in mind and keep working towards that goal, obviously. But then, I just always say I don't want to look back and be like, I didn't live because I was trying to pursue this so hard,
Yeah. Or like even in you trying to pursue that, you don't get to enjoy the tiny moments of that, which, that's like part of the fun. So.
Exactly, yeah. And there's also so many things too, like I'm not just, filmmaker, artist, writer, director. That is what I ultimately want to be doing career-wise, right? But there's so many other sides that I've been able to explore. Like I recently found out I like to do makeup, like, which is something I never really did. And then obviously, and I really started revamping volleyball because I played volleyball for forever. So yeah, I'm discovering new things and like even rediscovering old things, finding out how old things can fit into my life,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Love that. Love to see it.
Anything else you want to say about your new year?
No, nothing really's changed about mine. I'm still, working I work in corporate America, let's be honest. Still working corporate job, doing, things with my animals, I guess, if you will. So like nothing really new coming on. What did I do for New Year's? Oh, I went and visited a friend for New Year's, so that was fun. And yeah, that's pretty much all I did. I didn't do anything.
Were you with the friend?
I don't really celebrate. No, I went home on New Year's Day.
Okay.
So I visited my mom on New Year's Day. But
Okay.
yeah, we don't really do like the whole party thing. Like, nah, that's not us. So,
We always go to sleep.
you know, we're probably like considered. I don't even stay up for like the ball drop or anything. I was like, so I'll see you tomorrow.
I didn't stay up for that either.
I'll
Honestly,
see
I
you
worked on New
tomorrow.
Year's and I was happy to work on New Year's. I didn't have a
Really?
yeah, I got out while the getting was good. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
New
make that
Year's Eve
money,
was
honey. Yes,
that was
sir.
that to me. That was the holiday.
I
That really
bet
was
that's
like
probably
cashing in. The
good.
other ones,
Yeah.
Christmas and Thanksgiving was kind of like I think people do stuff for themselves on those holidays, but New Year's people are like I'm saying inside.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so New Year's was slightly lucrative for me. I'll say that.
I can see
But
that.
I was happy to do that because, like, if you're not going to a New Year's Eve party, you know, it's like I would have just been in here. Maybe like writing something or doing something like on my own. But so yeah, that's what I did on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and I was happy to do that.
See it.
So, yep, another year of life.
Another year, another dollar.
Seriously. Hopefully, we can get more of them dollars though. That's really the only complaint I would well, not really complaint, something I just would like to have more of it. And that's just because I want more comfortability. Like, I don't want to have to be in the store like, can I get the extra cheese on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to have to
How much that's gonna cost?
Okay, not extra cheese, but like,
yeah, because you don't like cheese.
Yeah, but like, can I get, like, I don't know. Or
really,
it comes down to like
count your pockets.
Yeah, I count my pockets and like, okay, if I want to get this new pair of shoes that I've been eyeing for like the last couple of months, I don't want to have to be like, well, let me count my pennies out and what bill I gotta pay for this. But
you know what? And I think though, like even though like we talk about like not counting our pennies, I think even rich people count their pennies. Like, you know what I mean? Like obviously it's not
true.
pennies, it becomes thousands, but they're counting their thousands, you know what I mean? So I don't think that ever goes away. Like, you know?
That's true.
That I think that's just like a false narrative of that money becomes less of a worry. I think it becomes more of a worry because you have a lifestyle that you're trying to uphold.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Let something not go how it was supposed to go.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll be like, because like
even more,
in some instances we have like nothing to lose compared.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Is like when you have less money, you have less liability. So like, I might be dealing in hundreds of dollars here and there, and like, oh damn, I gotta spend an extra $200-$300 on this thing. But like somebody else, when they're talking about losing money, they're like $200,000-$400,000 or like big.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's a blessing to just not.
Yeah. Like the only time I really think it truly, exactly, that's true. But the only time I think it truly does not become a concern is like, say you're like a billionaire. And I think that's only because you just have so much money that it would be, and if you have that much money, I'm pretty sure you have something that's making you passive income.
So I guess that's what I look forward to is like passive income, and then knowing that, okay, I don't have to come up with the rent, or I don't have to come up with the mortgage payment. Like, I'm really concerned about just limiting myself on the extra spending, not my necessities. Like my necessities is just going to be, I don't have to worry about that because we have more than enough income to carry that,
I can see that. But I know, I think a really good thing that to do when you are trying to like set goals or whatever, like really like breaking it down and being like, this is specifically what I want, because then it becomes more achievable and you know exactly what you to do to achieve it. So like, instead of being like, oh, I just want to swipe my card, to not think about money, is that's really not the issue. The issue is you want the financial freedom, and the passive income to support a lifestyle that you want. You know what I mean?
Agreed. And I don't think there's anything wrong with saying like, yes, I do actually want an elevated lifestyle. Like, don't get me wrong, I love,
I think we all do.
I love actually where I live. I found a really, cute place and I like it. And it's working for me. I'm glad I'm doing it on my own. I'm glad it's really, it works for me and even financially. But I just think that, of course, like, I would not have a problem, obviously, moving into a home one day, a home that has like certain amenities, like, and Actually, I'm not the type of person I gotta elevate my car. I'll drive my car till the ends of
Oh,
the earth.
child.
I'm not one of those people who's
Seriously.
gotta be in a like Rolls Royce, but just to and then to be able to like take certain like vacations and like even to fund my
Mm-hmm.
own artwork in some ways and to be able to just really, I guess, handle some of those like bigger investments and like you said, have
Mm-hmm.
the financial freedom to do that, invest in myself, invest in others' work, and do all that. But I guess that comes with time and life
Oh,
and
yeah.
just and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, you have more financial
For sure.
freedom at 40 versus 26.
Facts. It'll come,
Ideally,
though.
yeah. So I don't stress about it like too much. I think in my earlier 20s, I used to stress about like, oh, I'm not getting there, I'm not getting there, I'm not getting there. And it's like, mm, enjoy right now, do what you can right now,
Yeah,
enjoy the process of,
for sure.
doing what you want to do right now. And like, it's good to have some scrappy skills to like know that you can make it when on a little bit. You know what I mean? It's good
Mm-hmm.
to come from that because if you just always have, it's like, it's harder to go without if you ever have
Yeah,
to.
and I think also too, like just kind of like when you get your first car and like say your parents pay for it, you kind of like, whatever. You get your own car in your own name and you have to pay for it. You're like, let me avoid that hump in the road. Let me avoid that pothole. You know what I mean? Like you're a little bit more um like careful, appreciative, ensuring that you're doing the right things to maintain X, Y, and Z. Versus if someone just hands you something, or it comes easily, it's okay if it goes because like, I don't have to work hard anymore.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
Or like
Definitely
somebody gave
having,
it to you.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely having things on your own makes you appreciate it more. You just move differently and
Oh yeah.
not only do you take
Oh
care of it
yeah.
more and cherish it more, but you never put yourself in positions to lose those things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh
you're
yeah.
less reckless about how you move in life because you're thinking about the two, three things that could be affected if you do. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's been a really big lesson to me because really it's the first time in my life I've been completely on my own, like paying my own health insurance on my own. Okay, so like,
Facts.
and
It's
when
all
you pay
coming
my
out of
health,
my check.
right?
Oh
When you
God.
pay your own health insurance, yeah.
That's funny.
But
No,
no,
seriously.
when you are really doing for yourself, you're like, even if it kind of hurts to do it and make do certain things, it's like
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So
No, I totally agree with that. Totally
yeah.
agree with that.
So I'm taking, 2023 hasn't been this massive, like, oh, I've had this like great awakening, but it's like, I want to be more of myself. I want to be, have my work reach a bigger platform. I want to have my work expanded or whatever, like career wise, but I also want to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy life. Like I don't know if you felt this, but 2023 didn't feel like this massive like shift. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
we got the tools. Now let's keep it rolling. That's what it felt
Yeah.
like for me.
Yeah. I can see that. Like 2022 was pretty difficult. I'm not even gonna cap.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it's kind of like out with the old in with the new kind of thing. So like things really like the beginning of 2022 specific was really difficult, and then like towards the end things started to get better. And so now I feel like you said more prepared to go into 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously take those tools and implement those things into my life. Which I don't know if it's like specific to like years or whatever, but I think like also too we're getting older, we're making different decisions, we're really figuring things out for ourselves, we are
Yeah.
literally on our own for the
We're
most
on the
part.
other side of the 20s.
Yeah, which everybody always talks about, but like and I mean, during the
It's
moment I was
real.
like,
I think there's something about it
I mean,
that's real.
now that I'm here I'm like, all right, cool. But when you're in the thick of it, doesn't feel like there's an end. You know what I mean? Like hindsight's 2020 because you're out of it. But in the moment,
Mhm.
like it was a little rough, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, on top
Well,
of like we both moved, so it was just a lot going on.
I
Truly.
think I'm gonna be honest with you. I think once you get to a certain point in your 20s, especially when you start working and paying for things yourself,
Hmm.
that really sobers you up quickly.
Yeah.
Because when you're before you really have those responsibilities in your earlier 20s or even your later teens, you can be very almost naively optimistic about things, and there's
Oh yeah.
nothing to kind of counter it in your life. It's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yes, of course this will happen, or I want this, or I want to do that, or we're just gonna do that, like that kind of thing. And it's not that you can't do these things, but like as life and work and all these things come into play, you realize you process things are a process 9 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 10
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, I would say things are a process. No matter how
And
much
that's not
money
to
you
say that
have.
you can't also be optimistic, but I think which me and Courtney used to like go toe to toe on this back in the day. It's not that you can't be optimistic. It's just being aware of both possibilities. Because life, if you let it hand it something to you, life will hand you life. Like life
Yeah.
is rough, you know. Life is everybody experiences life, but life is not for the weak. You know what I mean?
It's not.
And especially with how our political, economic climate is going, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just not something that you can play around with. And especially being African American women, for example, too, that
Mm-hmm.
makes it another notch of difficulty. So
Yeah.
it's just like, it's like a compounding ball of like thing after thing after thing after thing after thing that you have to navigate. So you really have to, be optimistic, but realistic. Like you have to be.
Yeah, you gotta be both. I don't feel like we were
Yeah.
so far gone, at least like optimism wise, to be like totally just delusional. I don't think we ever reached
Yeah.
delusion.
I don't think there was a delusion, but I do think that like I've always been pretty realistic. I think for a while you definitely lived in like somewhat of a fairy tale land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not to bust your bubble, but like there is like now that you're on your own, I feel like you now have a better sense of what I was like trying to like not
Communicate.
forewarn you about, but just kind of like enlighten you about, like, just be prepared because I'm telling you, it's thing after thing after thing. It
It's
never
always
stops.
something.
It never stops. It's always
No,
something.
it's never
If it
something.
ain't, you're out of, like, I'm talking about basic things too, like,
Out of toilet paper.
out of toilet paper, but in the next week you're out of
Don't have
paper
food in the
towels.
house.
Now you don't have food in the house. Now you don't have a toothbrush. Now you don't have a
Car
bar
needs a oil
soap.
change.
Now you know what I mean. Car needs an oil change. Got a nail in your tire. You need gas in your car.
Yep.
Like just random things. Just random things. So it's just like as much as you can prepare, which I don't think you're ever prepared. Prepare. Just prepare because I promise you, when curveball's
Mhm.
coming. Full force every time.
Life's curveballs are going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And
And that's why I
it
say,
really
like,
is
it's
about how you
important to be
handle it.
realistic. That doesn't mean you can't be optimistic. Be optimistic, but just be
Yeah,
realistic that things are going to happen. Like, life is just going to life.
absolutely. I mean, I know I'm very like goal driven, so I need to know what I'm going for to
Mm-hmm.
to keep going. Um but I think for a while, especially before my prefrontal developed, I was or fully
Not the
developed.
prefrontal child.
The prefrontal.
Excuses. Call it what
There,
it is. You
okay,
wasn't
but there is a
ready.
difference between
Mm-mm.
some of my thoughts and processes prefrontal and then post prefrontal, right? I've
There
noticed that.
is.
And I feel like most people notice it. I'm not saying that I was never a wild child doing crazy stuff. I'm not saying that. But like I think um I had this idea of sort of just like not just things are gonna work out, but like I don't think I understood totally the full severity of things
Mm-hmm.
prefrontal.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
Now, when I
Okay.
look at things, I'm a little more like I don't want to say it's not really risk adverse because I still take risks. I take calculated risk, but I'm more like I'm not gonna just risk certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, it's just more calculated.
it's a little more calculated. It's not that I don't pursue things. I just am depends on the risk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
That's
That's
what I
fair.
think.
I mean, I can agree to that. I do think that, like, with age, which I don't know if it's necessarily with age, I think it's just more experience in general. You become a little bit more guarded, jaded, if you will, just because ignorance is bliss. You can live happy-go-lucky in ignorance, but the more you know, the more, you move with caution, you proceed in maybe a different direction completely, or whatever the case
Mhm.
may be. So I guess it could be like a prefrontal thing or just age and experience.
Well, I know your prefrontal is like the final part of your brain that gets developed, and it's like your
Hmm.
decision making skills. It helps
Yeah.
you be a little more. It's like more balance in your
Yeah.
decision making, basically. And I
Yeah.
think before I would just see things as kind of like, what's the positive outcome only? And now I
Hmm.
just really I look at the positive and I see like, what is the negative outcome? Not that it always
Hmm.
prevents me from doing things, because oftentimes it doesn't exactly prevent me from doing things. It's more like route A, B, or C that we're going to take to get to the
Hmm.
same goal. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's helping me make that judgment call a little bit better.
Hmm.
At least I noticed that
That's fair.
change in myself a little bit.
Hmm.
And I mean, then there's also some positives that have just come with experience aside from my judgment call. It's like,
Absolutely.
well, I mean, the other big thing is I recognize nuances in behavior a little bit more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not
Hmm.
saying I was oblivious beforehand, but I know that before like 24, 23, 24, 25, I think certain behaviors that I would now read as totally off base, totally red flag,
Hmm.
I read it as like, oh, well, that was weird. I just call it like weird, and wouldn't
Hmm.
think of like, no, this behavior is rooted in something deeper and actually probably more ominous than you're giving it credit for. And you probably need to remove yourself or behave accordingly.
Hmm.
That I would say has changed for me is like I pick up on nuances of people's behavior a little bit more,
Yeah. Okay.
you know? And I
That's
mean, I
fair.
don't know, I thought I was pretty strong in that because I always went with my intuition. Always. Even from like
Hmm.
when I was like 5 years old. But I just realized that because I hate to say it, but subtleties in people's behavior, if people are manipulative types, they try to be as subtle as humanly possible, right? So
Yeah. True.
now, yeah, like now that my prefrontals develop, I like read so much more into the very, very minute, subtle nuances of behavior. And I never just
Hmm.
assume that somebody's treating you poorly once, that they won't do it again. If
Oh,
they
for
did it
sure.
once, they'll do it again and again and again because it's most likely their character, not just a choice that they're making in the moment.
I can see that.
So that's another thing. That's probably one of the biggest things too that I've changed. And like, I'm glad I've been able to meet really kind people who I haven't had to use too much of the prefrontal on. But
Not a prefrontal, honey.
yeah,
You're like, do you want me to get my prefrontal on you?
my prefrontal, right? But but no, I mean it helps. It really does help. Like, and you don't think that it's like major, but it's like some, I don't know if you experienced it, but it was like something clicked around 23, 24 for me. And I was like, no, that's what that was. And this is why you need to watch out for it. You know?
Really? I
Yeah.
feel
I
like I've
don't
always been like slightly like that. Like I've been very like that's not to say that my prefrontal was like fully developed or anything like that, but I've always been aware of like consequences and stuff like that. And like I've always it's because I maybe too I've also experienced some things like way before you did. But
yeah.
like when I moved out on my own, that was very much like girl, you have no idea. You
Yeah.
have no idea. So if there was like anyone that I could like just be like prepare as much as you can, honey, I was given that advice because when I tell you I was unprepared, I
Yeah.
was, and like I really thought I could just go out there and just get an apartment. Me and a person that I met in nursing school when I was in nursing school just were like, oh, let's go get an apartment. And the reasoning behind it was logical. Living on campus was just too expensive, and living off campus was cheaper in the long run.
Hmm.
Um, but the responsibilities that came with that, baby,
Yeah.
not prepared.
Oh,
So.
yeah. Oh yeah, things are just gonna like it's like everything that can go, especially when you like just move somewhere and you just get into your place on your own. You're like, okay, this is good, life's
Mm-hmm.
going good. It was
Right.
like everything that can go wrong goes wrong at once.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and you're just like, Jesus, can I catch a break, please? Like
Seriously.
something, because you're like, and like I'm not gonna lie, like Caitlin knows how much I prepared. I prepared for these types. You know what I mean? Like I really, really
Mm-hmm.
sat down and prepared. And it was still just like stuff
Yep.
just
Thing
came
after
up.
thing. It never ends.
And it
It
wasn't
never
something
ends.
I could even prepare for really. It was like, well,
Mm-hmm.
you can put 1,010% good intentions into it. pray, meditate, whatever, a bump is gonna come in the road.
Oh yeah.
That's just
Yeah,
what it
and I
is.
mean, a lot of the things are oftentimes not even in your control. You know what I mean? So it's just
Absolutely.
like you just have to deal with it when you deal with it and when it comes. But that is why I think it's important to, be realistic in your expectations and, it, throughout life, period, because it's not going to always be peaches and cream. Like it's going to be some things that you're not expecting. And you just have to take that, take it on the chin, grin and bear it. And then, go to the next thing because the next thing's coming. It's in the pipeline.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't have to
Yeah.
change anything. You can still enjoy life, experience life. Just prepare for that along the way.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think it's worth it in the end. It's like, these are probably just symptoms of your 20s and like growing up and
Yeah.
becoming an adult, not stuff that all people probably go through. So I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is like the end all be all. And like, for the things that we've gone through, it's like blessed to make it out alive, but also that it wasn't worse, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if you're not like at the age we are at, if you're like listening, and you're maybe slightly younger, or maybe even if you're older and haven't done this yet, like it's just prepare to be unprepared.
Yeah.
That's
And
kind of what
being
I would
okay with
say.
that.
And being,
I
being
always
okay
say
with
this,
it.
but like be uncomfortable. Like the biggest thing that I've like told myself, like especially this last year, or probably the last 2 or 3 years, is just be comfortable with the uncomfortable. The
Mm-hmm.
moment that you get comfortable is the moment that is not you're not going to be okay because now you're
Yeah.
expecting everything to be smooth sailing and it just will never be. And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to be comfortable with the idea that everything's going to change. Everything can be uprooted, change for the positive, the negative, the in between, the neutral, doesn't really matter. But just be aware that it's not going to always be this way, whether you're in a good or a bad place. Things can
Yeah.
change for the best or for the worst. So,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
that's okay. Those things happen for a reason. Those things happen for you to grow, evolve, opportunities, whatever the case may be. But just to get your head wrapped around that, you know what? There's going to be some things that are uncomfortable happening. Maybe tomorrow, maybe 5 days from now. We don't know, but I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I've recently, I've kind of trained myself now to work into not being so, I think I just used to be, especially financially, just like afraid, like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just afraid of this. Like, if I'm doing this myself, I don't want to be in financial ruin or whatever. And I'm just like, at a
Yeah.
certain point, you gotta pay the bill and let it go. You know what I mean? Like, that's
Honestly.
just like a lot of times that's what you gotta do is like, all right, we made it this month, or we made it today,
Right?
or we made it
Oh,
here.
yeah.
You know what
Day
I
by
mean?
day.
Like,
Day by
it's,
day.
it's like until you get to a place where you're not thinking about the day by day. That's obviously
Mm-hmm.
the ideal, but it's sort of just like, um, you have to let it go because the weight of it is too much,
Oh,
especially
for
when
sure.
the weight is a little self-imposed and it's like, okay, well, you're not going into financial ruin if you do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, that's something I had to start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable in,
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
so.
Yeah, especially, I will agree with that. Like, especially financially, like, that's not to say that you shouldn't prepare, but I also think
Mhm.
that it's like not something to harp on. Like, for me personally, like, one of my goal is not necessarily, um, I don't put like a quantity on it. Like, I don't say, oh, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be successful and I want to live happily and I want to live, doing X, Y, and Z, certain things that I want to have in my life. I don't put a quantity on that because I don't want it to be, um, like I'm harping on this financial thing. I just want these certain lifestyle things that I want at whatever price that it comes at, right? So if that means I'm
Mhm.
a billionaire, I'm a billionaire. If that means I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, right?
Mhm.
Um, but I do that because it doesn't, I don't focus on this like number or fixing on this like number. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not focusing uh, on the financial part of it necessarily, just like getting to those things, those ultimate things that I want. Um, Instead of like worrying about finances, like, oh, am I going to get here? Am I not going to get here? Because it equals this number versus enjoying the experience of getting there, the experience of having what I want in X, Y, and Z.
Yeah. I think that's great. All right. Well, let's get into
That
talking
was a good
about,
chat.
yeah. For sure. That was kind of like live chat mixed with our
for
new
sure.
year. What kind of, but
Yeah,
New Year's a reflective time.
it is.
So it's
It
good to be
is.
able to um, voice those things and reflect and then also, share it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For sure. And for anyone that's not 20, like in the later part of their 20s,
mid
because
20s.
me, mid 20s, later part of 20s, I hate to be that like cliche person, but like it's gonna be okay. It's gonna
Yeah.
be okay. You're gonna get through it. It's gonna be, I mean, it's not gonna be like peaches and cream because like life's still gonna be life in. But I will say there is some level of like relief um, in
Eventually.
the
Things will
latter
get better with
parts, I guess
time.
you can say. Yeah, like there's a little bit of like relief. Like there's a little bit more of like oh, okay, I can do this. You know what I mean? Nah,
Hmm.
this isn't so bad. Like, okay, this is what the wait was for. In the moment, or did I like? I used to hate when people would say stuff like that because I'm like, what?
It's painful, so
Like,
painful in the moment.
yeah, it really is because
You're
it
like,
was like,
it gets
how am I supposed
better.
to
And it's
figure this
like,
out?
you can say
Yeah,
that when you're not drowning. Like,
exactly. Yeah. And that's not to say that like obviously everybody's situation is different. Like everybody's situation is going to look different. How you get to the end result in your late 20s is going to look different. But I will say for me and Courtney, we're 26 and it's improving. So,
Mhm.
so I will, I can attest
Yeah.
to
And
that,
it's like,
our experience.
I would say sometimes I feel like I'm so far from where I like ultimately want to be.
Agreed.
Then I have to really, I mean, like, as far as like, I guess, achievements are concerned, then I think
Mm-hmm.
about like, I have to really give myself credit for even taking some of the risk and brave moves that I have done so far
For
and
sure.
just be really proud of that and say, you know what, if even if today doesn't look like ultimately what you want for yourself, first off, you're not out of the race for it. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But then second off, it's like, you know, you've already taken some steps toward that. So you're just not at the finish line yet. You're on the race,
Yeah.
So I had to
Mm-hmm.
like remind myself you're on the journey. It's like you're not it's not like they called the race and somebody else won or something. It's like there
Mm-hmm.
is no winner. You just keep running until you know
For
what I mean?
sure.
Like you just keep running until you reach certain milestones and you run again. And then you reach
Mm-hmm.
another milestone, you run
Agreed.
again.
Yeah.
Like
It really is like a track race. You just keep doing it again and again and again. The meet might be over for today, but tomorrow you got a next one.
yeah,
So I
absolutely.
completely agree with that.
And be prepared to like, if we're all running the 100-meter, like maybe you need to slow down at certain points, maybe you need to speed up at certain points,
Mm-hmm.
like be prepared
Mm-hmm.
to change even your method while you're running the race as well,
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like being
so
aware, like your surroundings, who you're racing against,
mhm,
all that stuff. So,
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind
great
of
chat.
how we've like moved into 2023 so
Mm-hmm.
far. But
So yeah, stay tuned because we have some good things coming. Also for CaCo Talks as well. So we have some
yeah.
new things coming, which we're gonna get into that now. We're kind of doing we're gonna do like a behind the scenes and we're just gonna like share some things that we're thinking about improving for the new season.
Hmm.
And if you think we should change something specific or you want to see something specific, please let us know. We're open to suggestions and improvements.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, this is I guess kind of like what we're are into the new season, which will be in March. We're
Hmm.
just gonna like share some things that we're thinking about. I guess
Yeah.
changing, altering, adding, subtracting.
Yes, it's good to reflect on
Yeah,
even your work as well.
agreed. Yeah, so we should probably start with okay. Let's do this, Courtney. What do you think we did really well in season? Or well, we're still in season one, but what do you think we're doing well in season one?
Um, I think um just the kind of conversational tone we've been able to upkeep, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for every episode. I feel like listening to our episodes, even if they do get lengthy, it feels like it's not even, in my opinion, when I listen back to them, I'd be like, oh, an hour and a half passed by, 2 hours passed by, is because like I get enwrapped in the conversation. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think us continuing that tone makes it feel very personal and like like time flies by because you're like having fun. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
I think we do a really good job of that, which is really, this podcast is basically a extenuation of the conversations we already have with each other on the
Yeah.
phone and have had since
Mm-hmm.
we were like children. So yeah, I think we do that really well. I also think just us splitting the workload of creating this podcast, we do very well. Because I don't
I
know,
agree with that.
I don't know if we ever explained like how we split the work. We should probably explain it.
Sure.
Like,
It's
so
pretty much
I
half
do,
and half.
yeah, it's pretty much half and half. Like, Caitlin does a lot of the like administrative sort of like organizing stuff, like keeping up with the schedules and posting.
Mm-hmm.
And I edit the videos and edit the audio for us. Sometimes I'll post, but usually Caitlin does the post and then maybe I'll edit it.
Mm-hmm.
But like we sort of like tag team it. I think we make all creative decisions we end up making together, but
Yeah.
more the tasks of actually getting things done is usually that's what we split.
Split. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Courtney's
So
more of like the creative, and I'm just more of like the admin person. So that's
yeah.
pretty much how it gets.
But I
How it
think that
gets
fits our
split.
personalities. Oddly
Oh, for
enough.
sure.
Like
For
yeah.
sure.
We're definitely like, let's schedule, figure out how we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's like get the ideas out. You know what I mean?
And could you imagine me editing?
Make
Oh
it
my
work.
God, that'd be funny.
I think you would like, I think honestly, because editing is so tedious. It's
I
so
would get
like,
frustrated.
I think you would
I
get
know I would.
frustrated.
I
And
really would.
I enjoy putting together little itty bitty parts that like nobody's gonna notice, but is there.
See, I
It
enjoy
makes a
doing that
difference.
if I'm like building something. Like if I had to do like construction, okay, cool. But like when it comes to like video stuff, I could care less. Like just give me the end product, honestly.
Yeah. I like putting it together. I like finding like one little second of a song that's gonna really make it pop or whatever, and like getting it in there. And like I don't know. I just love the whole video. I like the whole form of video. Honestly, it's just great.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Yeah, no, see, yeah, I could care less. So.
I mean, this gets like pretty repetitive because it's not as creative as like my other artwork is. Because my other artwork, I'm kind of like, it's not just editing; it's actually trying to edit to accentuate a point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Here, most of the time, I'm editing just to get it a clean audio track or to get the video clean, and spell things right. And so it's more like not technical, but more, I guess, just repetitive.
True.
But I like doing it to get to the finished product more because I like hearing the whole episode and seeing it come out and all of that. So, yeah.
Cool.
I don't know. I like that stuff. I think if you're going to be a filmmaker, you have to like sitting alone and like reviewing footage for hours, that sounds like torture to a lot of people. Actually, when I say that,
me.
But I mean,
and it's not even sitting the long part; it's the videos.
Yeah, it's just the videos over and over and over again, over and over and over again. And then like it's not even just like, okay, I'm watching this one thing, trying to find one little second to use or whatever. It's like, how do I cut this specifically to get a certain point out? And then of course that opens up a million different ways you could actually do that. True. And so that's really why you end up sitting there for like hours and days on end, to be honest. So, but yeah, that's kind of how we break down the work. And it's, I would say it's like pretty even, to be honest. Like, and we always get
for the most part
topics. Yeah.
Facts.
So
yeah, pretty much. Everything that like goes into like making, I'm kind of like more, before, and you're probably more like after, but it's pretty. I think this is as even as it could possibly get.
Yeah,
honestly.
And it really works out because we're not even living in the same like area. So it's really great that we are able to make this. If it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't even be able to do this. But
honestly, yeah.
But it's great.
And good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, good Wi-Fi and being able, and we have had Wi-Fi issues in the past. We definitely had Wi-Fi issues.
Oh God, let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
some of your fave episodes have probably had Wi-Fi issues. But
For sure.
but yeah, and then I think also our communication is very clear.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, okay, we gotta upload it by a certain time, or we gotta do this by a certain time. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, blah blah, blah, and we make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really where that's a strength, and like honestly, I think about it, I'm like going into like filmmaking, I want to find a producing partner similar to Catelyn, somebody who really is
Thanks.
able to, like, even if they don't necessarily, like, Caitlyn's not the type to like be like, okay, I'm always coming to Caitlyn and I'm like, you know what? I got this new idea. Let's try this. And Caitlyn's like, not the type to like be like bring a new concept so much, but you listen and you're like, well, how you gonna make this happen? What about this? And like that part of it is actually critical to filmmaking. Really, it is. Or really any project. You need someone who's gonna like have the idea, and then you also need someone, to really be like, well, how are we gonna make it work?
Yeah.
Which is what a producer is usually.
And that's very true. Like the logistics behind it is, you know what I mean? Is a must because, having these grand ideas is fine and dandy, but logistically, how are you going to make this happen? And so I'm more of like that person in our creative journey with CaCo, which I enjoy. So, don't mind.
Well, I think you give the perspective of someone of a non-artist. Does that make sense?
That too. Yeah, that too.
Because like as an artist, your first, thought is going to be, how do I express this as fully and whatever is possible, and it means something to you? Like, I say all the time, like I would watch 3-4 hour movies, and Caitlin's like an hour and a half max, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's important to understand, like, this is where your audience member is probably coming from. Not saying you have to cater to them totally, but like, it's important to consider if you're trying to get them to watch your stuff and support your stuff. You got to know where they're coming from. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that goes back to that like idea that we talked about earlier, like being realistic. You know what I mean? With your expectations for whatever project you're working on, but being realistic with the audience's idea of what you're portraying. Only if it's from your point of view. So you kind of have to consider their needs and wants too, while also sticking, dear and near to your truth in that. Which I think that's the hard part of it is like, what's dear and near to you may not be to the audience per se. So,
yeah. Well, you can get consumed in just making the work because it takes a lot to just make something. That's a big part of it. But then being able to step back and say, okay, how is this being perceived by someone else? Because you have a different, there's a difference when you're giving birth and then somebody outside. You know what I mean? Like those are two different perspectives. So,
for sure.
Yeah, they're not as attached to it, I think, as you are. They're able to look at it really third party in some ways, Not that you have to compromise. I never advocate compromising if you're an artist, but I think considering how your work can be perceived is important.
Yeah.
So some other things we got coming for season 2, some changes we're hoping to make is we're hoping to get more to do more ambient videos because we realize those are like actually getting more numbers. It's like the ambient YouTube videos. And I think it's interesting, actually, to use.
Yeah, same. I didn't
as a podcast.
Yeah, which like we and Courtney, like we had really no intention of doing the ambient thing other than like we just like Christmas and we like the fireplace because like we watch Yule logs and different things like that. So that's really where that like stemmed from. But we like really saw like an uptick in our views on that, and so because of that, we were like, we also think it's cute, to do something that goes along with our theme of the podcast. Also, too, logistically, it's just easier to produce, a single image versus having what we had before, which was like the audiogram. That takes forever for Courtney to produce. So we're going to get rid of the
Courtney's
audiogram.
Laptop.
Yeah. So
laptop.
we don't really have, we don't have the money to go buy a new one for the audiogram. So, we're just going to, which I think too, that like obviously we're getting more views on the ambient vibe for
Yeah.
the visual part of it on YouTube. So obviously for those who don't watch it on YouTube, you won't understand that part, I guess. But most of our views come from YouTube. So, you know, we heavily consider our how we're portraying our visuals on there. So hopefully that will be enjoyable for viewers. And they'll enjoy I know I'll enjoy it, you know. It gives you something to watch and to listen to, so that's nice.
Yeah. I think before we just had our logo up there with the audiogram, which I think that's a cute, like modern, sleek aesthetic. Like it could go on Instagram, it could go on TikTok, whatever, because that's kind of how people do things now. Or that's the look people go for now. It's very like trendy. But I think
for sure.
ambient videos is nice because it does add that visual element into it as well. While we're not necessarily giving them like a motion picture, we're not giving them a film or whatever.
Yeah.
We are giving them something that is scenic. And, you know, there's a long history of just like ambient videos playing in the background, like even projector videos and stuff like that. So it's nice that we show that we're considering the visual part of it as well as the audio part, not just kind of slapping our logo up there, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think also too, like providing that it like broadens our audience too, which is cool.
Agreed.
So
so definitely looking to do ambient, which I'm glad about. I'm happy to definitely switch up some of the visuals. So another thing we're thinking about considering is changing up our introduction a little bit. And do you want to explain this, Catelyn? Because this was your idea I brought to the table.
So currently we basically have like 2 introductions, and we're like kind of saying the same thing. So we like introduce the episode we're talking about, and kind of do like a welcome back type of speech or whatever, and then we jump into the episode, but we do another intro. So instead of doing that, we're going to try to come up with something that's going to be like standard, where we kind of like do like the welcome. Kind of like a theme song. Yeah, like, you know, when you hear X, Y, and Z, you know this is CaCo Talk. But then we'll do something separate where that second kind of intro, we'll still have that, but we're just interested in introducing the episode like normal. And then we will like get into normal content. But just so we're not doing the same thing twice, we are going to eliminate one of the like episode introduction by just having like a standard introduction that we would do and introduce the podcast, which we've been suggested to use this old song that we like wrote back in the day. So we will like edit that and make it relevant to CaCo Talks or something like that. But it's really cute, so you know, stay tuned for that. See what we got up our sleeve. What else are we gonna do?
Go ahead.
We are going to also try to incorporate a new little like I guess like a little tiny little segment, I guess if you will, where we basically do at the end of the episode, and we kind of like wrap up like the moral of the story, if you will. But we're gonna call it at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, we're gonna have an at the end of the day at the end of every episode to explain what we learned from it, what we are going to take into other situations and XYZ. Just wrap up the episode, get a moral of the story kind of vibe, and then that'll be our outro for the episodes now. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, I like the idea of having a standard outro that has a name to it. And especially, you know, at the end of the day, it's definitely something people are very aware of. That's a common colloquialism that people use all the time. And they know exactly what it means as soon as you say it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that's great to include that little segment. Maybe we can add a little like song or something, some way to transition it with the audio so people know that this is the recap, the wrap up for the episode, and then they can, you know. I think it's great that we have little segments so people can, even if they skip through the episode, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah, they can
You
at
know,
least get like
get a
those two
little
things.
feed. Yeah, get a little like feel for what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. So
Mm-hmm. And then I think another big thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to try to lessen the time of our episodes because
yeah,
I know that they get lengthy. So, which me and Courtney, we kind of had like an in-depth debate about this because Courtney likes to fully get out her like thought
ideas.
process and ideas, and just talking through them helps her get it out. Right.
Yes.
But me, I'm like, if I was watching this as an outside person, I just would not enjoy watching something that's an hour and 30 minutes. Like, I'm just not going to watch it. And so we have found a happy medium, which we initially started with in the first place, of just doing hour-long episodes. So we're going to try to stick with that when season 2 comes around. So yeah, that's what we're working towards so far, which obviously we're still in the process of coming up with stuff because our new season doesn't start until March. So hopefully we can, if we have any other good ideas, implement those too.
Yeah. Actually, I realize I talk. This is how I talk, just in general, and I think it's because I talk the way I would write. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, so I don't realize that I'm trying to find a good way to say something. The same way I went when I write, like I start writing something. I'm like, let me change that phrasing. Let me change this word. Let me change that. And so then that becomes long because it's that whole stream of conscious. And I realize I'm self-editing, but the other people are not. They're just hearing it all like bleh. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm bad about this too, but like we do a lot of like self-editing out loud. So it's
it rambles.
Yeah, it sounds very rambly, not put together. But I mean, in our minds, it's a really good thought.
Yeah,
very well articulated. But you see the before, after, and the in between. When and that's not to say that because I think the conversation pieces are very important. But as far as the podcast is concerned, you probably could clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more if professional, if you will, but also sticking true to CaCo Talks in, having that conversational piece where it's kind of like, oh, we're just chatting with the girls. So
yeah, absolutely. I think the cornerstone of this podcast is actually being very conversational. I wouldn't want to lose it and make it kind of like a news podcast where we're like, in today's news, blah, 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 blah. Like, how it feels like they're just reading off a teleprompter and everything, and they have to say things very precise. Yeah, we don't want it to be too scripted.
Yeah.
But I do think just kind of like making your point, round it out, try to be as concise as possible, which might just take a little more pre-planning on our part to make sure we really have those topics, down, and we're not just kind of like making things up as we go,
Yeah.
Or talking off the cuff, not so much making things up. But
100%.
Yeah, I think that's something we'll definitely try to work on. I'm trying to stop my rambling and like self-editing out loud. I know people like hear me in everyday life. I'm like, I know they don't. I can see on their faces, they're like, I'm sort of following you, but I'm not following you.
Right. Honestly.
And it's because I think the way I would write, like, I think I'm just like a writer, like true blue in my blood. And I read too. So like, for me, I say words like acquiesce and like normal conversation.
What does that even mean?
That's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't know. Acquiesce is like to like.
We always say, or me and my mom always say that Courtney, like talking to Courtney is like talking to a dictionary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that's not to say that we don't understand, but it's like, babe, you're not talking like most people's, level of understanding is like fifth grade. No, it's like fifth grade. So you gotta like bring it down.
Yes. Well, okay. Keep in mind, I majored in English in college. Okay. English has always been like strongest subject for me. And I write now and make films and like, which is all that comes down to is writing. I write everything. So like for me, I like and I read. So it's like these words come up in like casual conversation in the books and stuff that I read or in the words that I write. So to me, that's like the world I'm already existing in. And I forget that like not everybody is like there.
Mm-hmm.
So I gotta like, I don't want to say bring it down, but sort of.
Yeah.
Or just use my thesaurus. Get some simpler words.
Honey, I don't think we will know what that word means.
Acquiesce. Okay, acquiesce is to like kind of.
No, I'm talking about thesaurus.
Oh, thesaurus? Yeah, I don't know what a thesaurus is either.
I don't know. I would be a little
It
concerned.
substitutes words. Well, you know what a thesaurus is.
I know what it is, but I'm just saying, like, some people may not know. Like 5th grade level, I don't think I knew what a thesaurus was in 5th grade.
Yeah, maybe we didn't know.
I mean, I think we knew because of the type of education we had, but.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forget that and I also forget how my tone and like the way I speak, like our diction is very like Mom has said like, oh, you pronounce every single word very clearly, and I think I speak fast. I think you can sometimes you barely understand what I'm saying.
Facts. I agree with that. Yeah, but I feel like we all kind of speak fast. We like for the most part, we all speak very like proper. Like people, Courtney always laughs at me because I say Charleston, and like I pronounce everything in that word Charleston, and it has a little Southern twang to it. But she's just like, "Why do you pronounce everything in that?" But I'm like, "Babes, you do the same thing, okay?"
Yeah, no, we do
the same thing.
It is called like, and I think Mom does it to a certain degree too. Like, I'm like if that's how we speak, that's how we learned it, to be honest.
Facts.
And like even in our schools and stuff, we weren't raised around too many people who just had thick Southern accents and like weren't pronouncing words in their proper English. Even like our teachers and stuff didn't have these crazy thick Southern accents, not like backwoods type accents where you really can't understand what they're saying at all.
There was one teacher, but I loved her.
Yeah. I mean, some of the teachers do, but they still there's levels to the Southern accent. There's somewhere I like being from the South, I can't understand what some people are saying.
Yeah. Like that Charleston accent. Yeah. I don't understand.
Some of it is just like, I don't think you're pronouncing certain syllables and stuff, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But
which is fine. Like, everybody talks differently, but it's just like, I just don't quite understand.
So. But the area we grew up in, to be honest, not a lot of people really had Southern accents that were just very noticeable.
Yeah,
not
that's
really.
true. Yeah.
I mean, I think we all probably have a little twang somewhere in there, but it's not like this overwhelming, like Southern Belle. Like people just think it's like we all speak like Gone with the Wind. And I'm like, y'all have such a caricature of the South.
Honestly.
Like
no, that's very, very exaggerated. Like most people don't even think we're like from the South. So
yeah, most people. I have to tell people I'm from South Carolina because they're like, I thought you were from where I live now,
like up north. And I'm like, no.
And I'm like, no, I'm very much from the South. And they're like, well, you don't sound like it. And I'm like, have you ever been to the South? There are places that don't sound like there are places that sound exactly like where I sound like where I live now. To be honest. And even like some of the people that I met from like where it's at now, I'm like, you would fit more in the backwoods than I do. Like the way you speak, Like, so yeah, no, it's very it's just interesting. But we're gonna try to limit our conversations so that you can get in and get out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and we had to talk about how we were ending the episodes. Okay, so last thing we'll talk about is we wanted to try ice skating lessons and maybe do like a little like tag along with us while we're doing ice skating lessons. Because that's something Caitlin and I started as kids and we never really got to do because it was just such an expensive sport to participate in.
Really expensive.
Like very, very expensive. More expensive than I play volleyball, but more expensive than that.
Oh, yeah. It just requires so many elements. Like, there's the ice skating lessons, which you usually do private, and you usually do, like, the lessons that are in groups. So, like, those are separate. You have a private coach usually, so that's separate. You have a dance coach, so that's separate. You have, like, a choreographer. That's separate. You have a gymnastics. That's separate. On top of, like, the gear was pretty expensive, too. So, we didn't cut to go very far with that because
Yeah.
the numbers were adding up rather quickly.
Yeah, that was a very, very expensive sport, honestly. And then, like, you know, ice time and stuff and all of that. I mean, the girls you see on TV like doing this, first off, they pretty much have committed their lives to it. That's number
Oh
one.
yeah,
But then
yeah.
number two, they're probably living with coaches or like finding some way to like if their parents aren't just wealthy people who can just afford to put their child in that level of expensive
Yeah.
sports, they you know, then they live with coaches and stuff and then are basically child prodigies. And so that's where they probably have like, you know, expenses and stuff paid for or sponsors or whatever. But
Definitely. Very possible.
yeah, and it's not like you can like join the school ice skating team. It's a very
Oh
much
yeah, no.
private,
It's a
kind of
private
elitist.
sport.
Yeah, private, personal. Your training is up to you and as good of coaches as you can get, you know. So,
Yeah.
but I think it would be cool for us now that we're adults and can like, you know, do some things for ourselves financially to start that process again and like just kind of like, you know, even obviously we might not make it to ice capades or like, you know, be on the Disney show
Yeah.
route. But like, you know,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, but hey, you never know. You do it long enough, you might. Who knows? You get good enough, you stay consistent with it. You don't know, you might get an audition to be on the ice tour, you know, of Disney. But
Yep.
it's really never too
Y'all see
late,
me as Tiana, Princess Tiana.
right? So yeah, and like people do adult skating classes all the time. A lot of the moves are very standard, so you can kind of learn them. There's even like YouTube videos and stuff you can watch now. You can
Yeah, I've
practice
seen
now,
those.
kind of on your own. You know, and even get a coach. And maybe we're at the age now where you can start coaching yourself and that kind of thing. So I think it's good to definitely start now. Like, you know, and like we're older and so, you know, Olympic dreams are probably gone, but like you really don't know where you can end up. You really
It's
don't.
not. And
Well,
not.
that's true. You're right. It might not be. Like you don't know where you can end up. So
Honestly.
yeah. I actually thought
So
about
yeah, we'll just
something.
like we'll add that like as like a visual aspect more to like our YouTube and do like an update on the actual podcast part of it. But that would be something that we do as kind of like a little like interactive thing that we would include on like progress and maybe do like some video clips and stuff that you can reference on like our YouTube for that segment if we can find lessons that allow us to. So.
Yeah. Yeah, because a lot of it's like group stuff too. So you got to see what's
And a lot of
really.
it is like for the adults are like odd times for lessons.
Yeah.
So we have to
And those
find,
lessons don't be but like a half hour. Like it's
yeah, they're
standard to
like
have
30
half-hour
minutes.
lessons, which is so
Yeah.
like short.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember, I mean, not that, like I said, I play volleyball, but like, and that was expensive. This is like 10 times more expensive in my opinion. Ice skating. I mean,
Yeah,
to
for
really put
sure.
your child through that, you know, and they're not like contributing financially as a child, obviously. So like,
Yeah, it's very
you really got
expensive
to
to
have the
do ice
money.
skating. So.
The outfits be expensive, you know, got to have certain skates with the custom boots and like the custom boots be
Yeah,
thousands of dollars and all that stuff. Like it's just
seriously. Yeah,
very, you
it's
know,
very expensive for sure.
yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's but it's good to like to do it now, you know, like
For
heal
sure.
some of those inner
Yeah.
childhood wounds and really take
Mm-hmm.
it upon ourselves to do that. So yeah. I was watching somebody's ice skating journey and they were saying like a lot of the ice skating we see is the reason why those kids can do something like flips and tricks and stuff is because like they're prepubescent bodies like
Yeah,
on
I can
TV,
see
so
that.
they're very malleable at that age, you know, like because
Yeah,
those
I can
kids
see
they be
that.
like winning gold medals at like 15, you know, like
Honestly,
um
yeah. They don't get older than like 20 typically. Like
yeah,
literally 20. Like usually the people competing, they're not
yeah,
older
their
unless
bodies
they've
are
been in the
still
game for like a very long time. But
exactly,
yeah, most of them
which is interesting
don't.
because we're like a lot of people are like, oh, I can't do this, whatever, and I'm like, yeah, because that this person is actually kind of a child, so their body is very, very fresh, very
Yeah,
like
yeah.
flexible, moldable, you know what I mean? Like that's
Mhm.
kind of all their body knows at that point.
Very
So,
true.
and she put that in perspective. I'm like, that's really good that she said that because, you know, by the time you're our age, your body is very much set in its ways, you know.
For sure.
So I hate that people say like we're on the decline because we're like post 25. I don't feel like I'm on the decline. I feel like I can still go.
Not a decline, but I feel like there is stability. Like I'm stable.
Yeah, stability. I haven't noticed a difference in like when I play volleyball versus now. I think I've gotten better since I actually since I got older. But I think it's a mentality shift more than a physical shift. So anyway. Well, but yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We're looking forward to all the changes that are going to come for season 2 with the podcast, as well as with our personal lives. We're glad we got to share some of the kind of update since we've been gone for a couple weeks about our New Year's, kind of some of the changes we made personally, some of the things we reflected on, some of the things we made sure we could grow from. This year, we're so glad that we got to share that with you guys. And we're hoping you had a really great New Year and that 2023 has been good to you as well. And that you're looking forward
because it's about to be good to us, period.
Yes, period. And that you're looking forward to growing in the new year. And we hope, more importantly, that you keep listening to us because we're growing. You're gonna be growing. We're gonna be growing together. So,
amen to that.
Yes. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.
Bye. Ocean says bye as well. He's our executive producer. So
bye, Osh. The
say
exec
bye, Osh.
had to come in for this new
say
year.
Bye. He's over here licking my laptop and trying to bite my computer.
Sabotage.
All right, say bye, Osh.
Bye, Ocean.
Bye.
Let him sniff into the mic.
Okay.
Bye, Osh.
You can't even hear it.
No. Oh, is that his teeth?
You hear him biting? He's biting the thing.
I heard his teeth, yeah. He said bye.
All right. He says bye. Bye.
Bye, everybody.